Okay, well, we have some slightly slow internet up here, but it is 4 o'clock, and we do have Public Works coming in right after we are finished today, so I feel like we should go ahead and start. I'll call to order the April meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners, and Kim, could you start us with a roll call, please?
Kathleen Mills.
Here.
Israel Herrera.
Here.
Jim Whitlatch.
Here.
And Ellen Rodkey is absent.
Okay. Ellen is absent, but we do have a quorum to go ahead and hold our meeting today. So we have rearranged just a little bit in the interest of getting in any public comments or anything before we might run out of time later in the meeting. So first off, we always have the Section A is the consent calendar. So business report, minutes from the last meeting, some recurring partnerships, that sort of thing. So do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay. All right. And all those in favor, a roll call vote, please.
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay. Motion is carried. And then our Section B is the public hearings and appearances, and we have a Bravo Award that Emily Book will tell us about.
Sorry. Hello, everyone. Emily Book, Community Relations Coordinator. And the staff would like to recognize Lizzie Johnson with the April 2023 Bravo Award. Lizzie is a science teacher over at Bloomington High School North, and she is the MCCSC District Science Coordinator. While she may not be a traditional in-the-field volunteer, she's one of our most important and valued contributors. Lizzie is the one who coordinates all of our high school volunteers for our Leonard Springs Nature Days. I think we've had about 60 or 70 in the past year or so come out and serve as group leaders. She finds them in her classes, connects them with us, makes sure they have their permission slip signed, photo releases, and is really just a great benefit to us. As you guys know, Leonard Springs is one of our biggest volunteer asks in the fall. We need 20 volunteers during the middle of the day every Tuesday, so we really appreciate her support in finding us all of those high school group leaders, and they've all been fantastic, so we couldn't do it without her. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lizzie. It's great to have those high school volunteers out there. Yes? Okay, all right, and then we will move into our Section C, Other Business. C1 is the review of a facility suspension appeal. And do we? Sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, you're right. Thank you. B3, the staff introduction? It's not on the one.
We're going to do the staff introductions
At the next,
after
okay.
public comment, so we can get to public comment.
Of course. Okay, sorry. So we do have C1, review of a facility suspension appeal, and I don't know if we have, I know we have Mark Sterner here. Do we have the person who would like to appeal in C1? I don't think so. No? Okay. All right. So we're going to go on, we're going to move on to C2 and, okay. All right, so C2, we have the review of policy 13120, which is something we discussed before, the memorial benches in parks. An update to that policy, Barb Dunbar.
Good afternoon, Barb Dunbar, Operations Coordinator. Did I just lose my? Yeah, so I've been asked for time constraints to kind of not go through all of the changes that you guys have had a chance to look at those, but I just wanted to point out after last month's meeting, I did add what your comments were about with regards to the, let's see, first I'll do the.
I'm sorry, Barb, is your microphone,
Yeah,
is it on?
it seems like it went out suddenly. Did I? Testing. Oh, no, I didn't touch anything other than this. Hello? Hello? There we go. Thank you, Kim. Yeah. So I'll go over just what I changed or what we added for the Memorial Bench Program. Under the policy section, the plaque personalization message and/or text is subject to review and approval by the Board of Park Commissioners. Simple, straightforward there.
Okay.
And then finally, in the number 7, it specifies that in the event of vandalism or other unanticipated events or acts, benches are warranted for 5 years against damages. If damaged beyond use within the first 5 years, the department will replace the bench and/or the plaque. We did not include theft there. These benches weigh close to 800 pounds. They're also permanently attached to the concrete slabs, so. And then under the trees, Memorial Tree Program, I did the same thing there because there really is no difference between a memorial tree plaque and a memorial bench plaque. So the plaque personalization message and/or text is subject to review and approval by the Board of Park Commissioners. And that's pretty much it, basically. So.
Okay. And just to be clear, previously, the board didn't have approval of the text that was on benches?
No,
or
not necessarily,
tree
no.
plaques, or, okay.
No.
Okay,
There's not been an issue yet that's come up where that's been necessary, but that certainly doesn't mean that won't happen in the future.
sure. Okay. All right, any questions for Barb about this?
You know, I guess I combined those, and I think I had to do those separately, didn't I? For the purposes of the agenda. My apologies.
While they approve of both, okay. Quick question, and we may have talked about, this has been before us before, I think, or some level of it. Was there any discussion about what would we do if we wanted to withdraw a plaque because of some issue with the person who is either on the plaque or something along those lines? I didn't see any language about that.
A plaque that has already been placed or a potentially new plaque, you mean?
Plaque that's already been placed.
No, that hasn't been addressed. That's never,
I just,
that's not been, did not address that in the
I guess I would encourage
policy.
us to think about that if we have somebody who we've done a plaque for that becomes
Okay,
untenable to have them on a plaque any longer
okay.
because of something they've done or something along those lines where we may not want them on our plaque anymore.
I
So it's
understand.
just to give us a opportunity to have the discretion to remove any plaques we want to remove.
Discretion for the park board to remove a plaque
Correct.
for any sorts, like, that can be, we can certainly add that to the policy.
Yeah. That's all the questions I have.
Okay, any other questions for Barb?
Move that we approve, and we can look at that issue for a future review or whatever, but move that we approve C2 and C3 on the memorial benches and parks and commemorative tree program.
Okay, and a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Barb. Motion is carried. And then in C4, we have a contract with Commercial Service for HVAC replacement project. Kevin Terrell.
Thank you. This is Kevin Terrell, the Program and Facility Coordinator at Banneker. This is concerning a approval of a contract to Commercial Services to replace the HVAC systems at Banneker Community Center. The total bid was for $58,200 to be paid from the funding source that's listed on there. We received 3 quotes when we bid this out, and Commercial Services was the lowest. For some background, Banneker, obviously you guys know, is an older building, 108 years old. In recent years, there have been continual issues with the different various units in the building. At one point last year during summer camp, there was no air conditioning in the kitchen. The HVAC systems that are being replaced were installed at various times. 2002 in the 3rd floor in the kitchen units, 2006 for the gym roof. We attached an inventory of the different units that Commercial Services included as part of their quote, so you would have an idea of their various needs.
Okay, any questions for Kevin about this one?
Move we approve the contract with commercial services for HVAC replacement project.
Okay, and a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And then in C5, we have the partnership agreement with trustees of IU on behalf of research team of Stephanie Freeman Day and Dr. Burnell Fisher for tree planting survey. Haskell Smith.
Hello, everybody. Haskell Smith, Urban Forester, recommend the approval of a partnership agreement with IU for up to 3 rounds of surveys. One for the post-planting of the bicentennial tree planting, and then another pre- and post-planting survey for a similar tree planting planned for later this year. Amounts not to exceed $9,800 coming from the bicentennial bond money.
Okay.
Is there any questions? Try to be brief.
Are there, yeah, yeah,
Sorry.
thanks for that. Are there specific goals or outcomes that you'd like to, specific information you'd like to find out?
One of
from
the biggest
survey?
surprises I got from the first round was that urban forestry is largely an unknown program in the city, and I want to see if that's kind of a continued trend, and then maybe we can adapt our program to better suit some needs.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Haskell?
Is this at all connected to the next agenda item on the tree planting project? Or?
No, round 2 is focused in the downtown area, mainly around businesses or just areas where we kind of have to have trees. So not a whole lot of public input there per se.
Okay. All right, move that we approve the partnership agreement with the trustees of IU on behalf of research team of Stephanie Freeman Day, PhD student, and Dr. Burnell Fisher for tree planting survey.
Second.
And a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion is carried. Thank you, Haskell.
Thank you.
And then, Haskell has, yes, will stay with us for C6, which is the contract with Davie Resource Group for 2023 Bicentennial Downtown Tree Planting Project.
As mentioned just a moment ago, Davie Resource Group, downtown Phase 2, 90 trees planting in the downtown area, utilizing bicentennial bond funds, amount not to exceed $146,836. This focuses in the downtown area. There's replacing 24 poor health trees, 11 of which were calorie pairs, brings tree grates into compliance with the UDO, and replaces older style grates with the ADA compliant grates.
Okay. So for the grates, you're talking about the grates that surround the downtown
The
trees?
cast iron grates that surround the trees,
Right.
yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions about this downtown tree planting?
Move that we approve the contract with Davie Resource Group for 2023 Bicentennial Downtown Tree Planting Project.
Okay, and a roll call vote. Those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion
Thank you.
carried. Thank you, Haskell. And next up in C7, Steve Cotter will tell us about the contract with Spectrum Trail Design for 4-mile trail on the southern section of the Griffey Lake Nature Preserve.
Thank you. I'm here today seeking approval for a contract with Spectrum Trail Design to complete the south section of the Griffey Loop Trail. You may be aware they built a pilot section of the trail last year from the causeway to the first cove on the south side of the lake. Kim's bringing up the map that shows the rest of the loop. So the first phase that in the bottom right corner there in yellow is the part of the trail that they've already built. And we're hoping to get a contract with them this year to complete the remainder of that south section of the loop, which is shown in green. That would take us all the way over to the dam. And there will be a trail built across the dam this summer that will get people to the trails on the north side of the lake, currently shown in blue. The eastern portion of the loop is already built as well. It's on the walkway. The trail will cross the walkway along the west side of Headley Road on the east side of the lake there. So the section that they would build this summer, hopefully will build this summer, is about 4 miles. It's the longest stretch. It will replace a lot of existing trails that are too steep or not in good shape, and it will provide a lot better views and just make for a better experience. And the project is pending approval from the Division of Nature Preserves at DNR. This whole southwestern quadrant of the property, 250 acres of it, is in a state-dedicated nature preserve, so we need to get their approval for large changes to the property. And we're hoping that it will be done by the end of this year, and we're looking to get the north section of the loop built next year. Be happy to answer any questions. I should say, too, the total dollar amount of the contract would be not to exceed $210,625.
Okay, and is that, do you know if that can be a lengthy process to get it approved by the DNR? Or?
We hope not. They're aware of the project, and they've already walked the section that's been built, so hopefully it won't take too long, and we'll be able to get underway here shortly.
Okay. All right, any questions for Steve?
Move that we approve the contract with Spectrum Trail Design for 4 Mile Trail on the southern section of Griffey Lake Nature Preserve.
Okay, and a roll call vote of those in favor?
Kathleen Mills.
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch.
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay,
Thank you.
motion carried. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. And then in C8, we will have a review of the partnership addendum with Bloomington Football Club that Paula McDevitt will tell us about.
Good afternoon, Board of Park Commissioners. I'm Paula McDevitt, Director of the Bloomington Parks and Recreation Department, and I'm here this afternoon to ask for your review and approval of a partnership addendum with the Bloomington Football Club. This addendum outlines the particulars for their use of the Alcott Park fields, storage space for the soccer goals, and some inside storage space for some minor equipment, cones and balls in that, and then also that they communicate to their parents that parking is available in the park parking lot or in Jackson Creek Middle School and not on the grass, as that often occurs when we have a large number of people using that park. Just a little bit of background at your March meeting. First of all, I just want to give you brief background on how we go about putting together partnership agreements. As you know, we oversee and manage many, many partnership agreements, and that has been our practice for over 20 years. And in a partnership agreement negotiation, staff and the partner oftentimes go back and forth outlining what resources are being brought to the table. That communication can happen in person. Oftentimes it happens nowadays via email with attachments in that. And in the case with the Bloomington Football Club, that process was in progress, and a final negotiated partnership agreement was sent to the director of the club, Jeremy Sweet, and we received approval via email that our final copy was approved by him. Unfortunately, when you have some copies going back and forth, a former draft of the partnership agreement was put in your park board packet in March. That is what you reviewed and approved, and consequently, that is what we signed off on, and Jeremy Sweet also signed off on. It also came to Parks' attention that the particulars of this addendum was not in either draft, so that's why we're bringing this addendum to you today. I just wanted to give you that background on what happened in the last couple of weeks. We will stand by the signed partnership agreement, but we would like your approval to include the addendum so we can continue their usage out at Alcott Park. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So in the addendum, though, both the Parks Department and Bloomington Football Club agree to the the things that have been added in the,
Correct. This, last week, I sent the addendum to Mr. Sweet. He shared it with a newly formed parent committee. It was reviewed, and I received email confirmation Friday afternoon that they were agreeable to this addendum.
okay, all right. Any other questions for Paula?
Paul, I've just got a question. It looks like in our materials you provided both the agreement, or let me ask you that, I'm not asking it very well. It looks to me like there's two agreements, partnership agreements with Bloomington Football Club. Is one of them the one that both parties agreed to, and then is the second one, oh, sorry about that. Is the second one the one that we approved that was signed by Jeremy?
Correct.
Okay. So, and then are the highlighted materials the things that are different, or I'm not sure I understand? Is that how that
Correct.
works?
The highlighted copy that is dated March 21st at the top of the partnership agreement, that is the agreement that was reviewed and approved and signed off on. And the highlighted areas are the areas that the Bloomington Football Club wanted included in the partnership. And if you compare that to the second partnership agreement that has the date of March 28th on it, highlighted in blue, those were the items that were being negotiated by the Parks Department. So you can see comparing the two where the differences are.
Okay. And the one that we approved at the March meeting, is that the second one? Or the first? The March?
The one that you approved is an old draft that got put in your folder.
Right, I understand that, but which of these two that I'm looking at is
The one that's dated March 21st is the one that you reviewed and approved.
okay, that's what I thought. So the first one in here with the yellow highlighting is the one that we approved, but the one that was agreed to was the second one.
Correct.
But to make sure I understand, and the one that, the first one that we actually approved is the one, is not the one that the two parties had agreed to.
Correct.
But it's the one that but the Bloomington Football Club likes that one better, is that
Correct.
And instead of us contesting that, you're recommending, or you haven't brought it back to us to reconsider or try to go back to the one that the parties agreed to, is that correct?
No, what I'm saying is that we are honoring, after conversation with the soccer club, our error. We put the wrong one through, they signed it, and we just want to move forward and get this season underway. It's already underway, but to complete this season and just move forward.
Just so I understand it, as a park board member, this is not the one that the Parks Department originally agreed to. It's actually more favorable to the football club, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Paula, I just had a question about one of the highlighted items. It talks about seeding, fertilizing, weed control, mowing should be provided when reasonably requested by BFC. Do we have that? One person's reasonable request is another person's really unreasonable request. So I don't know if we have language like that in other partnership agreements, or if we, what is, I guess, a reasonable request to get
I'm going to
out there
turn
and mow?
that over to our sports guys who
Okay.
facilitate.
In yellow is the new, yeah.
If you could just repeat the question.
Oh,
Mark
sure.
Cerner with.
Yeah, just, there's a section highlighted that says that there could be mowing would be provided when reasonably requested by BFC. And I just wondered if we ever run any problems with, any other organizations in a partnership agreement saying, you'll Zamboni the ice when reasonably requested by the hockey players or whatever, or is reasonably requested, is that something that's worked out fine in the past, that kind of?
No, the only real obstacle that we ever really run into, it has to do with weather. So, working our applications and our field maintenance, based upon weather patterns or some things that, tend to cause us to have to adjust. But otherwise, no.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Any questions for Mark or for Paula?
Just confirming, Paula, that both sides, both parties, they know about the error, right? Both parties, they know about what will be accepted with this addendum.
Correct. Mhm.
Move that
Okay.
we approve the addendum to the Bloomington Football Club partnership.
Second?
Okay, and a roll call vote of all those in favor?
Kathleen Mills,
Aye.
Jim Whitlatch,
Aye.
Israel Herrera.
Okay, motion is carried. And then, yes,
I just want to call to your attention that the individual who is here to appeal the facility suspension is here.
okay,
So if we could
sure.
address
Go
that
back
agenda
up to
item, that would be
C1.
wonderful.
Yeah, okay,
Great. Thank you.
okay. So we will do that to close out section C. So C1 was our review of a facility suspension appeal. And I think Mark Sterner's going to come back up to tell us about that one.
Good afternoon, Mark Sterner, General Manager of the Twin Lakes Recreation Center. This is on the appeal by Mr. Stuart Eaton in reference to his suspension at the Twin Lakes Recreation Center. The background is Mr. Eaton was initially suspended from the Twin Lakes Recreation Center for a 3-month period. The notification of the 3-month suspension was provided to Mr. Eaton on March 9 of 2023. The original 3-month suspension was in violation of City Policy 11080, rules of conduct outlined in the behavior guidelines, which constituted a major violation. A lifetime suspension was issued when Mr. Eaton violated the original suspension when he entered the Twin Lakes Recreation Center on March 30, 2023 at 9:40 p.m. The lifetime suspension was then amended to a year suspension on April 12th. And it is staff's recommendation that we uphold the 1-year suspension. And Mr. Eaton is here.
Okay, just, I guess before we get to Mr. Eaton, can you provide us with some background about what I guess 2 questions, some background about what led to the behavior that led to the suspension, and also, is a lifetime suspension something that Parks Department does, or is it typically a
It is an
period of time?
option in that city policy, and that really tends to align with a major violation. There is a myriad of paperwork associated with incident reports, which is our internal process for documenting issues that we have within our facilities. All of that documentation has been submitted to legal and certainly is available to the board as well.
Okay, all right.
So what were the circumstances of his initial ban, and then what happened the second time he came back?
The initial ban was just a progressive, amount of behavior that was, causing some issues with some of the other patrons in the facility, but primarily staff. There were several conversations to try and alleviate the problem, to no avail. That continued to happen. We continued to get incident reports from our staff and from our professional staff. So we got to a point where we decided we had to take action and at least try and curb the behavior in some capacity. We thought initially 3 months would be a good message to potentially accomplish that. Unfortunately, the violation of that 3-month suspension led us to a whole different mindset. So that's where we're at now.
So was he aware of the suspension when he came back the second time?
That is correct.
And what happened when he came back the second time?
We have it all on video. He approached our front desk attendant. Obviously at 9:30 at night, our professional staff is at home. We have a lot of young people that work for us. They're college students. Some very versed and have gotten very versed in terms of dealing with the difficult situations, but some, they're new to it. And this is, we do provide jobs that give people that experience in their growing up years. So the conversation was inappropriate, but it was calm and it typically is calm in nature. It's the content of the conversation that's the issue. There's also, in that same process, the staff members indicated that, I turn my phone on so that I can record what you're saying or video what you're saying. And that is one of the things in the incident reports that has been denoted on a couple of different occasions.
I guess I'm just trying to get an idea so I can make a decision. What kind of behavior is it? Is it threatening behavior? Is it inappropriate discussions from some kind of, I guess I just don't even have any idea what we're talking about.
Sure. Let me go down. Paula has provided what some of the incident reports and things that have been denoted over the course of the past month and a half. Boiling of water in the fitness area and restrooms. He brought it to our attention that he wants to make tea. It's just not an appropriate location. We have a lot of youth in the building. Boiling water in, unrestricted areas that, just aren't suited for that or inappropriate. Eating in the fitness area. Soliciting, attempting to sell handbags to our front desk staff and our BYB spectators. Intrusive personal questions to staff and other members. Taking pictures of staff, making inappropriate comments as a form of intimidation, such as when you predict someone will pass away, bringing excessive amounts of bags, items, creating a hazard to members in the facility and lobby area, sleeping on stretching mats, using facility dumpster for personal use, sprawling personal belongings in multiple spots of our parking lot, use of foul language and aggressive speech to staff. You're welcome.
I'm here just simply to clarify the charges, the peccadillos, if you will, of throwing trash in the dumpster. If that is against rules of litter bug, then I should have kept it. I should have carried it into this facility and put it into their barrel, where at night it will be tied up and carried out to their dumpster. So it was simply a shortcut. I was emptying out. First, a little bit of background on myself. My house burned down September 10th, 2020. I've been homeless ever since, and every day is an exercise in just survival. So you must understand it's very stressful. It's not something I recommend anybody go through. However, I have been a home buyer since 1979 was my first mortgage. I've been a taxpayer ever since then, and I assume some of my taxes go to pay for the facilities that I've been going to, right? However, the list of items here, let's talk about the first one. Boiling water, I understand. It's very harmful to me to be living in a car. It's very stressful. And one thing about this particular tea is it's stress reducing and energizing. It's called Tulsi, Tulsi. You maybe heard of it, but it has been like a medication for me. And I understand that this is not what everybody does, and it's inappropriate for this particular facility. And I don't intend to influence anybody to, think of my behavior as being appropriate. I understand that. So when they confronted me, I stopped. There was no confronting me after about 4 or 5 times brought it in. Next thing, eating in the fitness center, I'm not sure. They've never confronted me about eating in the fitness area. If they would just have come to me and said there is no eating in the fitness area, I think what they're talking about is this little coffee table area. It's right before you go into the cardio. I don't know if you're familiar with that. But I ate there in that coffee table area, but I didn't go into the area where you actually work out. So I think some of these are just a little bit of hyperbole at the most. It's just a little bit of exaggeration here, and I won't stand for this. It's boiled down to falsehood. Soliciting and attempting to sell handbags to PLRC front desk and staff in Bloomington. I'd like to approach this with the thing that I do find things of sometimes of great value, And I was in outside the facility, hanging them up on the handicap sign, taking pictures so I could put them up on Marketplace on Facebook. There was no going door to door or going in the bleachers to sell it. Let's be faithful. I have been a salesman all my life. I know how to interact with other people, how to answer rebuttals. I am there just to take pictures of it. And maybe there was a passerby who I said I was doing what I was doing, but there was no attempt to sell anybody. Please, folks. Let's see here. Repeatedly asking intrusive personal questions. Now that is a one. It's just amazing what they're just bringing up here. They're just going to staff, including them to their personal contact information and relationship status. That's not my idea to intrude on anybody's, okay? I have a hobby. I've been studying it for 50 years, called astrology. And for those people who are also into it, I don't approach anybody who isn't. If they don't, I back off. But this is what it's all about. I mean, you got to ask their date of birth, place of birth, and time of birth, right? That's all it is, okay? And when they go down to here, talking about, what's that? Personal question. Okay.
So tell us about why you came back to the facility after you'd been banned. What was that all about?
I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Whitlock, because I never received that 3-month ban, sir. They allege that I did, but I'm in my car. Nobody can get hold of me unless they know where I'm at. They was not delivered to me. I didn't receive any kind of, what do you call it, certified mail to that regard. And if I had, I was in there March 20th just to take a shower at 9:30, as Ms. Sterner remarked.
So your contention is you didn't know that you'd been banned?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would not have been in there. In fact, I had not been in the facility for 2 weeks because the toxic environment kept me away. How would you like to be tailed? Everywhere you go, stalked, into the restroom, as a matter of fact. I will not put up with that kind of indignity. There was no sense of privacy. They just watched me everywhere I went. And that's the reason why I didn't go there until 2 weeks. On the 20th, I went in there, and Lydia said, "You didn't serve papers." I go, "No."
Now, when you go to the facility, do you, and this is Twin Lakes, right?
Yes.
Do you actually exercise? What do you do there?
Yes, I have exercised, and for that charge of sleeping on the stretch mats, how can you exercise and fall asleep? Did someone come up and nudge me awake? No, that never happened.
Do you have a membership there? I don't know if they...
It's called Silver Sneakers.
Silver Sneakers.
Yeah, it's true. It's an
Sure.
insurance program, too.
Yeah.
And I have taken advantage of it in several facilities. I just avoid the Twin Lakes Recreational Center because of the toxic environment of following me, of the indignities of my privacy. I was not going in there to do anything that night except to take a shower, and I was not allowed. So
Let me ask them a question. Thank you for that. Let me ask them a question. How do you know that he got notice that he'd been suspended?
So it is a little bit difficult in terms of reaching Mr. Eaton. He does respond to his emails. Staff has had subsequent conversations with him via email, and this information was sent to him via email without a physical address.
He acknowledged that he had received the email banning him from the facility?
Satoshi Kido, Sports Division Director, and Mr. Eaton, we sent several emails, but there is no response from him.
So let me ask this, the current recommendation is a 1-year suspension. That would be from when to when?
The original notification was on March 9th, so that would then be in effect until March 9, 2024.
All right.
Any other questions or? Okay.
Can we make a different recommendation?
Absolutely.
I recommend that he be suspended until December 1 of 2023,
For a shorter period of time.
for a shorter period of time.
Okay, all right. Do we want to vote on a
That
change
I'd
to
move
this, a
that he be
shorter-
suspended till December 1 of 2023. And I would also recommend that there's other places that you can get services and do your business things, the library and other places that might be more appropriate for you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I will not be going back. She's toxic. Would you like to be something?
I understand.
Okay,
Follow me.
all right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, do we have a second?
Well, I
Do you
have-
wanna- Yes,
So
sorry, go ahead.
I'm going
Mr.
to just share that I don't have the credentials for a decision, and I will have to abstain in this situation because it's a difficult case just in 3-4 minutes determine the fate of a person, so I abstain.
Okay. All right, so we don't have the votes then, so we will not be voting on this? We can bring it back. Next time?
At another
Sure.
meeting,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we would have, I mean, we kind of got there with Jim's questions, but I think we would have been helped by maybe having some more of the
Okay.
specific background in the packet next time, so. Okay, and then we will move on into Section E, the public comment, and we generally allow people to have 2 minutes for public comment. You can approach the podium and tell us your name. And we will certainly try to get in as many comments as we can, as time allows here.
Kathleen,
Yes.
there is a sign-up sheet, so when you approach the bench, if you
Okay.
will, please sign your name, and if you would like to leave a phone number that, or email, that would be fine.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Hello, my name is also Kathleen Field, and I'm here representing the BFC Parent Committee. You probably noticed last month that there was a large number of BFC, Bloomington Football Club, parents and youth players, and we're back again this month. I have an update for you. In order to facilitate a healthy and strong working relationship with the Parks Department, BFC has formed a parent committee that is taking the lead in like partnership negotiations and just normalizing that relationship. You're going to hear from a number of BFC parents today about some concerns and issues, but our first request on behalf of the BFC Parent Committee is to ask the Parks Board respectfully to direct the Parks Department to form a committee for the purpose of improving access to soccer fields in the city, specifically to try to get permanent outdoor soccer fields in the city established. And we'd like to work cooperatively with the Parks Department and to have a seat at that table. So we're asking that you use your authority to form this committee so that we can get started to improve opportunities and access for soccer. Our club has currently about 260 members, and there's more interest, but there's just not space in the city. And soccer, is the world sport. You don't need a lot of equipment. There's not a high barrier to entry, and unfortunately, we just lack the facilities, and we want to help improve the city of Bloomington by increasing access to soccer fields within our community. As you understand from the 2 partnership agreements that we've discussed in the last month and this month, there are some issues and some points of negotiation. We would like to work with the Parks Department, and that's part of why the parent committee was formed, to make playing soccer easier, both for our constituents and our community as a whole. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Field, no relation that I'm aware of to Kathleen. I have two children who have played baseball at Winslow over the last 9 years, including on Field 6 over at Winslow Field the last couple of years. Just so you're clear, I have nothing against soccer. I'm not going to speak negatively about soccer as a sport or anything like that. I have friends with children who play soccer. Hi, Venus. I would like to point out that I have seen a BFC proposal floating around emails about converting Field 6 at Winslow to soccer only. And they're going to ask for a vote next month on that, which is not a lot of time for the senior league to prepare. And any exploratory committee that would propose this would need more time than that. And converting Field 6 at Winslow to soccer only would likely mean the end of the MCSLBA, the Monroe County Senior Baseball League for Bloomington, Monroe County kids ages 13 and up. And I believe there are other options within the city, such as Bryant Park Field 3, Lower Cascades. Alcott Park was mentioned earlier today. I know BFC has mentioned that their goal is to utilize city parks, and Winslow Field 6 is utilized, and there are underutilized fields available. Yeah, I get wanting more fields, but let's find a way that won't kill an established league. This shouldn't be a youth sport versus youth sport situation. I work for a rural electric cooperative, and one of our founding principles is cooperation among cooperatives, and I'd like to see that principle extended here to where MCSLBA, BJLBA are pulled into the conversation to find a reasonable solution for everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Ashley Pirani, and I'm one of the new coaches at the Bloomington Junior Baseball League. I'm here to speak in my capacity as a coach, as a parent, as an advocate for girls in baseball and all sports, and as a former women's baseball player. Last week, I started seeing a petition going around for the Bloomington Football Club to solicit signatures to take over both Fields 5 and 6 at Winslow Sports Complex. They currently have Field 5. In this petition, there were several statements that caused me concern, but I'm just going to focus on 2 of those at this time. While it might not be the intention of FBC, it's advocating for one youth sports program over another. Full stop, that's not okay to me. If Field 6 were handed over, as you just heard, recreational baseball for 13 years old and up would cease to exist within the city. To my knowledge, there is no other program that's recreational for that age group, so it would be gone. Secondly, the petition claims that the city's catering to boys, and thus the Winslow program is not equitable. Currently at Winslow, which includes Field 6, we have 12% female population there. So we have girls playing baseball on those fields right now. They have been for a long time. We need city soccer fields. I agree with FBC that this is an equity issue. Not having those inside city limits means that we have some folks that aren't able to get out to Cars Farm to play because they don't have transportation or they can't afford the gas to get out there. I hear that, and I want to see that. And you also can't claim equity when you're also trying to remove equity from another program. I wish FBC would just stick with advocating for their program because it's important for our city youth. This shouldn't be an us versus them mentality. And it's really disheartening to see that that's happened. I want to see both our girls' soccer and baseball programs thrive in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Hi, my name is Aaron Stolberg. First of all, I'd like to start off by thanking Paula for gracefully navigating the whole mix-up with the agreements. So did a great job of that, thank you. I grew up here locally playing soccer, and finding quality fields to practice on was always a struggle. There were times we even had to use chain link fences and parking lots for goals. I was fortunate enough to earn a scholarship to play college soccer, and after graduating, had a brief professional contract as well in Austin, Texas. More recently, I was lucky enough to get to coach for BFC for 5 seasons while my son played for the club. While coaching there, I witnessed firsthand the club experience, growing pains associated with participation at BFC nearly doubling. A great problem to have, but it further shines a light on the desperate need for more field space. As someone who played the game at a pretty high level, I would be remiss, first off, not to say that we as a community are very fortunate to have BFC. It's a great option for our kids. BFC is developing great players and fine young men and women. In addition, the number of female players participating at the club has skyrocketed over the last several years, which is great to see. At the tournaments BFC competes at all over the Midwest, they do an incredible job, not just representing the club itself by winning trophies, which they do a lot of, which is a tribute to Jeremy Sweet and his coaching philosophy, but they do a great job representing Bloomington. I can't tell you the number of times opposing coaches, parents, referees, tournament directors complimented our club and our players at these tournaments. Again, that goes back to Jeremy Sweet and his philosophy on how these players behave on and off the field. Now it's time to accomplish everything BFC continues to accomplish, despite not really having full-time training grounds, is even more extraordinary. This evening you will hear some ideas from BFC Parent Committee on how the Parks Department can assist BFC in their mission to continue to grow soccer here in the community, as well ways that BFC hopes to collaborate with the Parks Department and the local baseball community in an effort to help everyone, not just BFC, grow their mission and give our kids the opportunities to play on quality fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Hi, I'm Michelle Buckland. I'm a lifetime member of this community and just want to start with thanking you for allowing me to speak to you today about an important community need. From your website, current Bloomington Parks assets include 34 parks, 27 playgrounds, a golf course, ice arena, 2 outdoor pools, 3 community centers, 3 natural resource properties, 13 ball fields, 22 tennis courts, 19 basketball courts, and more than 30 miles of trails, which we are all grateful for, but no outdoor soccer fields. As you're in the process of creating a network of opportunities for recreation in our community, a lack of soccer fields is a clear deficiency. One caller from the March meeting suggested that adult leagues would enjoy use of fields, but as we heard from a youth speaker at that same meeting, an in-town opportunity was his only option for soccer, a sport he now plays to represent one of our local high schools. Soccer is one of the fastest growing youth sports, and our community is home to many successful soccer players and teams. Several of those teams are represented in a club that has been able to rent and adapt to existing non-soccer field park space over the past several years. The club represents approximately 240 kids in our community. I'm happy to say that my girl gets to play soccer, learning from an amazing system of coaches through this particular club. The evolution of park space use needs has changed over the years, and the Parks Department has successfully adapted with more efficient use of our community assets to better serve the diverse needs of our community. Examples include a softball field that was converted to a skate park. Tennis courts also were adjusted to accept pickleball play. Winslow becoming home to permanent soccer fields will support our community, diversity, fun, inclusion, and stewardship to our people, all of which I know are part of the backbone to what this department and board stands for. We have an opportunity here to support a continually growing interest for the people in this community, and it's time to give this need proper attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Venus, as previously introduced. I am a teacher in this community and a soccer mom. My son was one of the players that spoke last meeting, and he mentioned that he would not be playing soccer if it wasn't for BFC, and that is correct. Our family is personally grateful for the location of BFC, and we could not have made the trek to the Monroe County location at that time that he started. So I have some things to say. I'm also a teacher, and I believe in equity and equality for all children. Currently, there are no soccer fields located within the city limits. Additionally, there are no available goals with nets for players to practice on. My oldest son, Ivan, who you've previously met, had started training with his friends for an upcoming game where he was going to play as a goalie. To prepare, he and his friends from BFC rode their bikes to a nearby location to practice. They were forced to use the goal at the local YMCA, which did not have a net. As a result, they had to assign a second person to retrieve the ball in case he missed the ball that was coming at the goal. Let's just say there were a lot of balls that he was missing as he was training. So that person had a big job. So soccer is a sport loved by millions of people worldwide, regardless of cultural background. It has a unique ability to bring people together, promoting a sense of global connectedness and understanding. By providing soccer fields within the city limits, we will not only encourage physical activity and healthy living, but also contribute to the development of valuable life skills such as teamwork, sportsmanship, and respect for others. This can have a positive impact on overall well-being of children in our community. For many families, attending soccer practices or games located outside the city limits can be very tough, especially for those facing economic challenges or without reliable transportation. This creates a significant barrier to access and participation for these children. Having soccer fields within the city limits promotes equity and inclusion by ensuring that all children, regardless of their socioeconomic background, have access to the same opportunities and resources.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to ask you to speed up and finish up. Thank you.
Finish up.
Yeah, I think we're just going to have to end for the next couple of speakers. Sorry.
BFC has players biking to practice every day. We are thinking beyond the typical pay-to-play model. The vision for this program is to create an inclusive and connected soccer community.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, my name's Mary Jane McNabb. We've been a BFC family for several years now. We've truly valued the dedication, passion, instruction, and just the overall nature that Director Sweet and the rest of the BFC staff provide. You know, increasing access to one of the world's most popular sports will benefit our entire community. We all know that green space and outdoor activities are really important to Bloomington. It's not just about having an open, flat space to run around. Like, our kids need safe, flat space where they can practice their sport, and I just want my daughter to be able to do that whenever she wants to. This won't just benefit BFC, it would open up soccer opportunities to kids and adults everywhere in our city and ensure that even more city property is used efficiently and the way that we want it to be used. So thanks for volunteering your time working on this board. We appreciate it, and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mary Jane.
Good afternoon. I'm Brad Pontius. I'm the Community Engagement Pastor at Sherwood Oaks Christian Church, and I work with Iglesia Hispana, which works with many of the Spanish-speaking congregation that has recently come to Bloomington. So we work with a number of immigrants. And as you know, football is a favorite sport of many of our new friends that coming from the South. I'm really new to BFC. I've learned a lot about the organization right here. But I'm here as an advocate for Pablito. Pablito's a 9-year-old boy who came here from Guatemala soon after he arrived here with his mother and 2 sisters. His father was deported back home, and he and his mother, actually his mother's told me she's tired of him kicking the soccer ball around their small apartment all day long. So I worked with him to find a place where he could play his sport and also where he could make some friends, where he could find this place to be a more friendly and welcoming place. In that process, I came to BFC and found that they were willing to not only invite him into practices, but also to do that at a extremely reduced rate so that he could find his way and in my role, and I just deeply appreciate that. As we know, there have been a number of immigrant families like the Duaneys, if you remember that name, from Sudan, like the Zamanis from Afghanistan, who have made incredible impacts on our community and become assets for that. I'm advocating that in any way that I can, and I really believe that soccer is one of those ways. So, for BFC to provide, and Parks Department to provide consistent places for practice and play to happen, surely will enhance Pablito's transition to his new home here in Bloomington. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day. My name is Kyle McInich, and I'm the president of Monroe County Baseball. You heard a little bit about our organization that services 13 to 18 years old. And you're going to hear a lot more, hopefully, over the time period that we're talking about this. But I just kind of wanted to, speak to not pro or anti-soccer or pro-baseball, but really about scale as you guys get into the concept of what we're talking about here. We've been in existence, and our predecessors have been in existence for over 40-plus years. We've had partnerships, most of all that, and we've had our luxury fields 1 through 6. We have recently, obviously, went through hardship with Field 5 conversion with past leadership inside the Parks and Board. But what I want to just speak to today is around just the overall scale and understanding. So Monroe County, as you heard, is the only organization of all Monroe County that services baseball in the 13 to 18-year-olds. We also only have one field in all of Monroe County also, so it sounds like we have a lot in common here. Baseball designated by fields, as some of you will be aware of, is a grass infield or a turf infield and a raised mine. I know that's sometimes confused with multi-use fields or softball fields when you hear about Twin Lakes and others. So currently, as you know, only field at our disposal of all in Monroe County, not just Bloomington, is Field 6. On the contrary, Bloomington and the greater Monroe County have multiple organizations supporting youth soccer. Obviously, Cutters, Bloomington United, YMCA, the city itself, Bloomington Football Club, just to mention a few. And yes, Bloomington and the greater Monroe County have locations like Cars Farm and its associated 6+ lighted fields, not to mention the many parks, the indoor facilities like Recreational Center, open green space like Lower Cascades, the football multi-use field in Alcott. So again, this is not a pro or a anti-soccer. This is a facts that we have one field in all of Monroe County. That is a baseball field, and there is only one organization that services baseball for 13 to 18. So, and I'm sure there's reasons why we need all those organizations and why we need all these fields. So to say that soccer, and I completely respect the concerns of in Bloomington, outside of Bloomington, but wanted to set the scale. And I think the last part you heard a little bit about is if we are evacuated from Field 6, we will be obsoleted. There will be no baseball for recreational baseball, and we will end a 40-plus year reign of providing that service. So my goal here is obviously to work and make sure there's plenty of room for everybody, but hopefully not at the expense of baseball and the 13 to 18-year-old kids that we support. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kyle.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting me express my thoughts here today. I am Priscilla Borges. I am a Bloomington resident for 18 years, and I'm here to say that I feel really lucky that my kid is part of Bloomington Football Club. I am Brazilian, and I can tell from my own life experience that this group is serious, with 16 employed coaches that really care for our kids' development, health, and well-being. They share their knowledge and love for soccer with more than 240 kids. I'm asking for Parks and Rec to listen and really give the group what it deserves, to be able to continue investing in our wonderful kids. I was recently shocked to learn about the innumerous problems and lack of support for our Bloomington Football Club and the soccer as a sport itself here in Bloomington. I'm here to support our 240 boys and girls, asking for permanent fields that are better taken care of at Winslow Park and other locations, as well as creating more fields within the city limits. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there, my name is David Huss. I've been coaching baseball since I came to this town back in, for college back in '84. I mean, I'm not a polished speaker, but as Kyle had mentioned, it's the only program in Monroe County, but we also serve kids because Ellisville doesn't have that program. Owen County, Greene County, Brown County, they come to us when they want to play rec league baseball. I mean, they've got just as long as drive as anybody else, and of course, we're currently down to the one field. Before Field 5 was used for soccer, we were using it. Not 100% of the time, but we were using both fields down at Winslow for baseball, and then the next year we were told you can't use it anymore, so we adapted our program. And then, of course, COVID hit shortly thereafter, and our numbers dropped, but they've come back up. Not to where we want it, but, you know, everybody always wants more than what they have. I know suggestions have been made to go into lower Cascades, but for baseball, those fields just, the outfields aren't big enough. Not enough room for us. Excuse me. And of course, our organization is 100% volunteers. I'm sorry, not 100%. We do have to pay umpires. But all the coaches, all the board members, we all put in our time at our own expense to help out the youth in our program. And one quick side note, you haven't introduced Ben Flake yet, but I've been down there at the fields already, and I enjoy working with Ben. We've had a lot of good conversations. So I think he did a good hire bringing in Ben Flake. So.
All right, thank you.
My name's Joe Fuschetto. I'm on the BFC Parent Committee, and I'm a coach as well. And kind of two quick points. First, I want to reflect or reinstate what we're asking here. We're not asking for Field 6. I don't think we put a motion on the table for Field 6. What we're asking for at this exact moment is a committee with Parks Department, and we certainly appreciate all stakeholders, including baseball representatives, to kind of solve that problem of opportunities for soccer players. So, you know, what we're coming here with is a motion, or to ask you to put a motion on the table, although we have Jim gone, so we don't have a quorum anymore, so it'll have to wait for a little bit, to have a motion on the table to just get an exploratory committee with park staff, BFC parents, and whatever stakeholders are appropriate to get more opportunities for soccer players in the city of Bloomington. So I just want to point that out here. I think we've jumped to an argument and a tough decision that doesn't have to be made at this juncture. So that's number one. And then number two, you know, when there are tough decisions to be made, and there sometimes are, that's why you guys get appointed, and I'm sure you get paid the big bucks by the mayor to be appointed. Why you are appointed in tough decisions, it ultimately comes down to a numbers game. So a numbers and facilities game. And there are probably compromises here. There are hopefully answers that work out for everyone. We certainly don't want to ruin Monroe County Senior League baseball. That's not our intent. I don't think it ever will be. Baseball is what it is. It's a fine sport. But what we're really trying to get in here is opportunities for our players. So how do we make that happen? Ruffling as few feathers as possible in the most efficient way possible, and utilizing park resources for that. So that's what we're asking, and we frankly don't have the answers until we sit down with all the stakeholders and try to formulate those answers.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Andy Hamilton, lifelong resident Bloomington. My family stretches from Salt Creek, Grant Street, Clear Creek. My family has served this community for 60 years, and my life from being a youth encapsulated in a deed from my grandpa's property on Winslow Road that he sold to Winslow or Bloomington Parks to finish Winslow Sports Complex, which is it's the actual right field corner of the blue diamond number 5. So growing up as a kid, I got to see what was a cow pasture become Winslow Park. And so over the years, I've been lucky enough to coach my son and travel baseball and watch Bloomington baseball from its dynasty in the 80s when it would just thrived. My dad was actually the president of the Babe Ruth side. People didn't go to the mall then. They went to Winslow Sports Complex. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday during the week, the place was packed, loaded. It was the coolest place in town. Unfortunately, it's fallen to the wayside of soccer, which I accept soccer is a great sport. We got the Hoosiers, one of the best programs in America. So to see the blue field disappear a little bit broke my heart years ago, just because of a piece of paper, you know. And to see the yellow field disappear and have no baseball on that Winslow facility on the senior side in the future would be devastating. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you, Andy. All right, are there any other public comments? Any on? Okay, sure.
We do have one on Zoom.
Okay.
And you should be ready to unmute yourself, Ani.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I've had the privilege to reside and visit a few countries, and I can always rest assured that if I find a football game, I'll automatically gain access to a multicultural and diverse community. Football field is a microcosm of the society we live in. That's where I go to play, laugh, get parenting advice, and meet different people from all over the world. Each time a parent asks me about getting their kids into football, I always tell them it's like a language no different than Spanish or German. It's a great way to communicate with people from all over the world. Prior to living in Bloomington, I seeked out playing opportunities 2 to 3 times a week due to access to free open fields and pickup games with adults and youths alike. Now that I've lived in Bloomington, I no longer play because I feel less compelled to contribute to an arrangement where I have to pay to play. Soccer is what the people's sport. It's one of the cheapest, most egalitarian sports in the world. And it's in somehow being very inaccessible in Bloomington. Access to fields is not just BFC's agenda. It should be that of all Bloomingtonians. We value equity and inclusion. And yes, this is just another way that we can, as a community, align ourselves with the values. The children want to see their adults playing. We need access to more fields where we can play recreationally, as well as allow the kids to work on their skills outside of practice. This will also benefit not just soccer players, but all athletes. The skills that they learn from soccer can help them in their basketball, their baseball. You can ask the renowned athletes like Steve Nash, Steve Kerr, Kobe Bryant, Paul Gasol, Luka Doncic. They've all played soccer. So I urge the board to grapple with these ideas, and if and when the chance presents itself to vote on this, to vote in the affirmative. I think this will better benefit not just BFC, but all Bloomingtonians in general. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other public comment? Okay. Well, I would like to thank everyone who spoke today, and I mean, I would just note that, I mean, Parks does regularly consider the usage of the fields and facilities, and it's obviously a pretty delicate balance between, I mean, just a few meetings ago, we had the tennis pickleball crews in here working that out together, but between those sports, hockey and figure skating, baseball and soccer, and these are public facilities, so we try our best to make sure that things are fair and open for everyone. I've appreciated hearing from the soccer people. I don't have a lot of soccer experience, so I appreciate hearing people are passionate about it and want more places to play. At the same time, I just want to note, I don't think it's fair for a user group that has an agreement to feel sort of pressured in the middle of their season to give up a facility or, I just don't think that's a fair conversation. And I appreciate, is it Joe? What Joe said about bringing the conversation back to a different place. So Parks Department has regular work sessions with the board to discuss all kinds of long-term issues, and I'm sure that this is something that we'll be talking about in greater detail going forward. So, Israel, do you have anything you want to comment?
So I can echo what Kathleen has said. Baseball and soccer and tennis and pickleball, all sports are very, very important. And I believe we have to have that conversation because we see the passion for sports in our city, for soccer, for baseball, and we need to think about the possibility to have these fields. Because I totally agree with many of you saying that we need the safety for our children and for the teenagers, and also I really like the comment about we shouldn't be dividing or saying or having the idea that one sport is more important than the other, but the agreement on both sides of having the chance to practice and to see how we can offer our children, our teenagers, the possibility to practice sports in very early stage. So I totally agree, Kathleen. We need to have this conversation with the board, the park department, and our two other colleagues, and see what possibilities in the future we have, and then bring this to a meeting and share what we have decided or discussed.
Okay. And again, I do appreciate everyone speaking and just reiterate too that it's nice to hear people say they don't want to pit one sport against the other, because it is truly for anybody who wants to play whatever sport they prefer. So we will continue to have conversations about it, and I think from there we are going to move into our staff introduction.
Yes.
If we can, yes, sorry, go ahead.
I know we have the meeting at 5:30, but there were some requests about us being able to form a committee, but I don't know if we have the rights or the responsibility.
Yeah, I don't think we're in a position
just
to do,
to
and
clarify.
we're also 50% reduced here, so I don't
Right.
think we can.
That would be something that we can bring to the table, but just to answer some of the requests that you had, and also regarding, I believe, a motion, but we don't have quorum. And personally, I haven't seen the motion, so if there is something. Well, right, but we are not. I believe the right process, and Kathleen, you can correct me, and the right process would be, following the channel first, because we receive from the department the information, and then we discuss as a.
Yeah,
as a
we
board.
don't usually accept motions that are submitted by the public, but if there is something that comes from the department that, asks us to consider forming a group or something like that, we could certainly put that on.
Represent that to the board in our work session and begin that conversation, so that moving forward, that will come through from the staff to the board and make it on the agenda. So there is a path forward, and we appreciate the comments this afternoon from all sports that were represented.
And just my final word, it's thank you, all parents, for soccer, and for someone from that I see every day here, in baseball. I really like those two sports very, very much.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm having flashbacks to what a bad baseball player my son was, but that's okay. All right, so moving on to the staff introduction, B3. Is this Shelby?
Yes.
Yes, you've waited a long
Is this on?
time to introduce yourself.
Oh,
so-
you're totally fine. I'm Shelby Drake. I am the new health and wellness coordinator. I started April 3rd. I moved to Bloomington in 2012 as a freshman at IU. Graduated in 2016. Since 2017, I have worked with IU Health in the Bloomington office and also Riley Children's Hospital as a dietitian. So I've worked in the chronic health space, and most recently, since the pandemic in the last 3 years, I specialize in pediatric eating disorders with Riley Children's Hospital. Last year, I had my own son. He's 11 months old, and that drive up to Riley was just a lot every single day. So when this position came open, I applied, and I am so happy to be here, and I look forward to working with you all. Thanks.
Okay, great. Welcome. Nice to meet you. And then Chris Hamrick, sports specialist.
Hello, I'm Chris Hamrick. I'm a new sports specialist over at Twin Lakes, and I will be there at the Frank Southern Ice Arena in the winter. I've lived here my whole life and went to school at IU, and I've coached hockey here for the last 5 years and really enjoy working with the youth of the community, trying to help them become better people and better athletes. And I'm really excited to be starting in my new role. So thank you for having me, and I'm really excited. Thank you.
All right, welcome.
Ben is not here, but
Oh,
his
he got a
introduction is
shout out
in your
earlier,
packet.
but he's
Yes,
not here.
yes.
Okay.
And then we're going to suggest that we move Leslie's
Yeah.
community events preview event calendar presentation to the May meeting.
Okay, yes, because Public Works will come boot us out any minute.
Correct.
All right, okay. All right, so do you have anything else to
My
share?
final announcement is Julie Ramey put the annual report, the final draft annual report at your desks. And just thank you to Julie for pulling that together, and Kim for all the data, and the staff for providing all that good data and information. And that'll also be posted on the website. And our May meeting, as you all know, has been moved to May 16th to accommodate and be sure we have a quorum.
Okay, all right, thank you. And with that, I'll adjourn the April meeting of the Bloomington Board of Park Commissioners.